My beloved brothers and sisters, when we speak about success, every person has their own definition. Some imagine wealth, others think of fame, power, or recognition. But the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his unmatched wisdom, once gave us a formula so short and yet so powerful that it can change the way we see success forever. Just 5 words. That's all it took to summarize what people spend their entire lives chasing. In a narration, he said, "Be in this world as though you are a stranger or a traveler." Simple yet profound. 5 words that open the doors of understanding. Think about it. A stranger doesn't get too attached to a place because he knows he doesn't belong there. A traveler doesn't build his entire life around the journey because he knows his real destination lies ahead. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was teaching us that the secret to success is perspective. If you hold this world too tightly, you will suffer every time it slips through your fingers. But if you treat it as temporary, if you see yourself as a traveler passing through, you will never be broken when things don't go your way, and you will never lose sight of where you're really heading. The 5 words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam remind us to live with purpose. If you are a stranger, you do not attach yourself to the customs of the crowd, even if everyone is chasing material success. You know your worth is not measured by the wealth in your hands, but by the light in your heart. And if you are a traveler, you take provisions for the journey, good deeds, sincerity, patience, faith, because the real home is waiting beyond this life. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam could have given us pages of advice, but he knew the human heart clings to simplicity. 5 words, yet they free us from the prison of envy, the trap of greed, and the weight of despair. When someone else gets ahead of you, remember you are a traveler and they are a traveler too. When life gives you blessings, enjoy them, but hold them lightly, because you will not carry them to your grave. When hardship strikes, do not crumble, because it too is only a stop along the way. One of the most remarkable qualities of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the way he communicated timeless wisdom. He never drowned people in complicated theories or difficult philosophies, but rather he gave them words that a child could memorize and a scholar could spend a lifetime reflecting upon. This is why his teachings penetrated hearts so deeply. In a world where success is often defined in thousands of pages, endless lectures or complicated systems, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reduced it to just 5 words. That simplicity is not weakness, it is actually power. The truth does not need complexity to stand strong. Many people today get overwhelmed because the path to success feels so complicated. There are endless books, videos, and philosophies telling you how to succeed, yet the more information you consume, the more confused you become. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew the human heart does not need thousands of instructions. It needs a direction. He gave us that direction with a few carefully chosen words. When truth is presented simply, it becomes impossible to forget. And that is why his companions not only memorized his words, but lived them out. They didn't just understand success, they carried it within them wherever they went. Simplicity also removes excuses. If the path was complicated, people could say it is too difficult, too advanced, or too confusing. But when success is summarized in a phrase that anyone can understand, the responsibility falls on you to live it. You can't hide behind complexity when the instruction is as clear as being a stranger or a traveler. This is the brilliance of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He gave guidance that is short enough to stay on your tongue, but deep enough to guide your heart through every stage of life. We often think that the more words we use, the more powerful our message becomes. But history proves otherwise. The most impactful statements are usually the shortest. They cut through the noise of the world and go straight into the soul. The Prophet's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam words have survived for over 1400 years, not because they were long, but because they were clear, timeless, and simple. And that simplicity is what makes them practical, something you can carry in your pocket every day. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us those 5 words, he wasn't just addressing the heart or the soul in isolation. He was teaching us a way of life that balances both the unseen world of the spirit and the physical world we live in every day. Many people think success is only about material gain, having more money, building a bigger house, or achieving a higher status. Others swing to the opposite extreme, believing success means ignoring the world completely and focusing only on spiritual practices. But the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us that true success is found when both are balanced, when your inner state of the heart and your outward actions walk hand in hand. If your heart is attached only to wealth, power, or people, then even if you succeed outwardly, you will remain empty inwardly. On the other hand, if you only focus on your inner state and neglect your responsibility, your family, your work, your health, you will harm yourself and those who depend on you. The 5 words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam remind us that success is never one-sided. A traveler takes what he needs to keep going, but never forgets his destination. A stranger benefits from where he is, but never lets it define who he is. This balance is what allows you to live in peace. Imagine living a life where your hands work hard to earn, but your heart remains tied to Allah. You strive in your studies, your career, your relationships, but you never allow those things to replace the real purpose of your journey. You taste the sweetness of this world, but you never forget that the sweetness of the hereafter is far greater. This way you are not weighed down by attachment, nor are you deprived of the blessings Allah places along your path. The wisdom of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam lies in showing us that balance is not just possible, it is necessary. Without it, you either drown in greed or lose yourself in negligence. But with it, you walk steadily, calmly, and purposefully. You enjoy this world without being trapped by it, and you work for the next world without ignoring your duties here. That is the true meaning of success, living with balance that honors both the journey and the destination. One of the miracles of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that his words are not bound by time. They were not just relevant in the deserts of Arabia 14 centuries ago. They are just as alive today, guiding us in an age of skyscrapers, social media, and constant distractions. When he said, "Be in this world as though you are a stranger or a traveler," he was giving advice that cuts across cultures, generations, and circumstances. The world may change, technology may evolve, societies may shift, but the human heart still struggles with the same attachments, the same desires, and the same fears. That is why his words remain timeless. Think of how a traveler from 1,000 years ago would pack his provisions before setting out on a long journey. He would carry food, water, and some coins, knowing that everything else was unnecessary weight. Now look at us today. A traveler in our time might pack a phone, a passport, and a few essentials. The items change, but the principle is the same. Carry only what you need. Don't overload yourself, because you won't be here forever. The Prophet's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam words teach us this same timeless principle about life. Keep your heart light, carry only what benefits you in this journey, and focus on the destination ahead. If we pause and reflect, the relevance becomes crystal clear. Modern life tries to convince us that success lies in accumulation. More money, more fame, more possession. Yet the more we chase, the emptier we often feel. That is because our souls were not created to be satisfied by temporary things. We were created for eternity. The Prophet's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam 5 words remind us to lift our eyes from the glitter of the world and fix them on the horizon of the hereafter. This is why a person who lives by these words can find peace even in chaos, hope even in difficulty, and purpose even when the world seems meaningless. These words are timeless because they don't just apply to the world you live in, they apply to the soul you carry. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to be in this world like a stranger or a traveler, he wasn't giving us words to merely admire or repeat. He was giving us a mindset to live by, something that should shape our daily choices, our ambitions, and even the way we respond to challenges. His advice only becomes meaningful when we bring it into our routines, when it moves from being just a phrase we know into a principle we live. The real question is, how do we practice these words in the middle of modern life surrounded by constant pressure, competition, and distraction? Another way to live this teaching is by changing how we react to both blessings and trials. When something good comes your way, success, wealth, recognition. Remind yourself that it's just a resting stop, not the destination. Enjoy it, be grateful for it, but don't tie your identity to it. And when hardship strikes, don't let it break you. Just as a traveler doesn't despair when a storm comes on the road, you too can endure because you know the storm will pass and the destination remains ahead. This mindset prevents you from being overly attached to highs or crushed by lows. Living these words also means prioritizing what truly lasts. If you had only a short time in a city before moving on, you wouldn't waste all your effort decorating the hotel room. You'd focus on preparing for where you're really going. Likewise, our days in this world are few, and if we use all our energy on things that vanish with death, we will regret it when we reach the next stage of our journey. Practicing the Prophet's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam advice means investing in good deeds, building character, showing kindness, and seeking forgiveness, because these are the provisions that travel with you into eternity. Every morning when you wake up, remind yourself, I am a traveler. I don't own this world, I'm just passing through. That simple shift in perspective can change how you handle stress, ambition, and even relationships. You will find peace in knowing that you don't have to win every race, collect every treasure, or please every person. You just have to walk steadily, carrying what matters and keeping your eyes fixed on the final home. That is how we live the 5 words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam every single day. The words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam are never empty. Every phrase he spoke carries with it a promise, a direction, and a door to peace. When he told us to live in this world like a stranger or a traveler, it was not simply to detach us from worldly life, but to guide us towards something greater. True success, the kind that does not fade with time, the kind that brings serenity to the heart and honor in the hereafter. The reality is, success in the worldly sense will always be temporary. Wealth can vanish, positions can be lost, health can decline, and fame can disappear. But when you live by the mindset the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam described, you secure a success that no one can take away from you. True success also means being blessed with contentment. So many people spend their entire lives running after more, yet they die unsatisfied. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us that success is not about how much you hold in your hand, but how much peace you carry in your heart. A traveler can be at ease even with the smallest provision because he knows where he is going. A stranger can smile even if he is not fully accepted because he knows his stay is temporary. This is the promise of the Prophet's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam guidance, a heart that rests even in the middle of a restless world. And above all, success means reaching the real destination with honor. Imagine the traveler who arrives home after a long, exhausting journey and is welcomed with love, comfort, and safety. That is the believer who lived by these words and finally meets Allah with a heart that is clean, deeds that are sincere, and a soul that has not been deceived by temporary illusions. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not only teaching us how to survive this world, but how to secure joy in the next. So the 5 words are not just advice for today, they are a roadmap for eternity. If you hold them close, live by them and let them shape your choices, you will walk through this world light and you will arrive in the next world rich with what truly matters. That is the promise of true success.